Okay. Morning, everybody. Morris, you can send to the group that we're on. Thank you very much, Morris. Okay. We're on Lamed. We're on Lamed test with Chesed test on the base. We'll take a look. We'll open up the Gemara. Lamed test on the base. 39B. We just started Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah. Four lines before the white lines. The Gemara had said that if you have a whole roll made out of barley, right? Good morning, Mike. You had a roll out of barley.
Morning, Rabbi.
Good morning.
Chodesh
Tov.
Morning.
Morning. I wanted to take a look. Everybody, let's take a look.
Morning, Avraham.
Good morning. We're going to take a look at the Tosfot.
Good morning,
Mevarach al Psitin. Upotes Ashlemim. You have the Tosfot on the right side. In the middle of the page, Mr. Habe, we have the Tosfot Mevarach al Psitin and Upotes Ashlemim, right? So we're going to see how Tosfot is going to bring Rashi's opinion, and then we'll see what Tosfot himself says. Pirish Rashi. Morris, you have it on the right side? Mr. Habe, you have it, right? Pirish Rashi im Psitin v'Ashleim shavim. If the pieces of the bread and the whole roll are equal in size, so Rashi understands, the Gemara holds, Yuvarech al Eidah sheyitzeh, that there's no preference. According to Rashi, there's no preference. According to Rashi and Rav Huna, the fact that something is whole does not make a difference. The size makes the difference, and whole doesn't mean anything. According to Rashi's understanding of the Gemara, we know we hold differently. Halacha. What do you say? You have a whole roll, and you have a slice of bread. So we know we would say you got to make a bracha on the whole one. But that's the halacha. But in Rav Huna, there's an opinion in the Gemara. According to Rashi, he understands that opinion that doesn't make a difference. The fact that something is whole. Now, Tosfos says, and if the pieces are large, there, if it's a larger piece, Steve, the larger piece is the one you would have to say the bracha on the larger piece. That's the first opinion. The first opinion is being whole doesn't add anything to the equation, doesn't do anything. It's all about size, and therefore, if you're larger in size, that's the winner. Now, Rabbi Yochanan Amar, however, Rabbi Yochanan says no. Rabbi Yochanan is of the opinion that you go after whole, the whole is stronger than even if the piece is larger. So we have one opinion that says whole means nothing, and everything is about height, size, and then the other opinion says the whole is everything, it's more important than size. Tosfos has an issue with this understanding, because generally we don't have such a wide dispute that they're arguing in opposite logic. That one rabbi says that whole means nothing, and everything's all about size, and the other rabbi says that whole is so much better than size. Tosfos does not want to say that the argument is such a far difference. Two ends of the whatever the spectrum. That one rabbi says whole means nothing, and the other rabbi says whole means everything. So Tosfos said, and one says it's all about size, and one says it's all about being whole. So what does Tosfos say? In Tosfos says you skip a few lines in the Tosfos, and you get the first line. Says Alkei Pirush Rabbeinu Tam. About 5 lines before the Tosfos ends, he says Pirush Rabbeinu Tam b'may b'sitim gedolim v'shleimim ketanim. So the way Rabbeinu Tam understands the Gemara, we're talking about the piece is large, and the whole roll is small. So now you have a situation where you have one thing on this end, a positive note, On this side of the scale, it's large, but on the other side of the scale, it's whole. So there's we call a mila, something, a positive thing on this side and a positive thing on that side. Now the question is, which way do you go? Each one has, like, you go out with a person looking for a girl. This girl has this positive thing about her. This girl has that. But not a question. Which girl you decide you want to go out with? You're gonna go out with, right? So each now we're saying, I'm not comparing the food to the girl, but the point is this role has this positive quality and this role has this positive quality. They're not the same qualities, they're different qualities. One is a quality called being whole, and one's a quality of being a large. Now, which is the winner? That's a good question. Now, so we have a machlokas. So the first opinion in the Gemara says, Rav Huna, Tosfos says, then you can do whatever you want. If you want to say the bracha on the larger piece, you could, because it's something special. You want to go and say the bracha on the whole thing, you could. So if Huna says, it's up to you. It's up to you. When each item has a certain quality, one a quality the other, then you could go out whichever girl you want to go out. You decide you want to go out with. I'm talking to married people. I shouldn't say that. You should set your child up with whichever one you decide to set your child up with. That's how we should be talking over here. And the Gemara that's the opinion of Huna. And Rabbi Yochanan says no. The main thing is, meaning I agree that being a large size is significant, but being whole.
Rabbi,
Good morning, Aaron.
How are you?
Morning, Shmuel and Abraham. Good morning, Mike. And good morning, Yosef and Tzaddik. A Chodesh Tov to everybody. I said a proper Chodesh Tov to everyone on the screen and everyone here in the room. We have a minion of people learning now between the room and the Zoom.
Rabbi, let us know when we book for you the garden, please. Like Simon said.
Yes. One day, Bez Hashem, one day all the Jews are going to be coming together. It'll be larger than Madison Square Garden. All going to come from all over the world. They're all going to come back to Eretz Yisrael.
Rabbi, quick question.
Yes.
If I missed Ya'aleh V'Yavo in Amidah, do I have to repeat the Amidah or the Musaf is okay?
You have to sing.
I'm going to get back to you right after the class. We'll discuss the issue. Okay.
Okay, never mind. Thank you.
Okay. So the Gemara says. So that's what Tosfos says. So Tosfos says that you should go ahead. The second opinion says if something is small, something is but it's whole, that's the winner. That's what Tosfos says. That's what Tosfos says. That's what Tosfos says. V'chein halacha. Tosfos says if you have a large piece of bread and you have a smaller roll, you go after the small whole roll. That's what you say the bracha on when you're planning eating both. That's what Tosfos explains tomorrow. Yes.
So Rashi and the Tosfot are they're not in line, right? They say opposite.
Right. Rashi, exactly. Very good point Mike is saying. Mike is saying that Rashi disagrees with Tosfos because according to Rashi, there's an opinion out there in the Gemara that says if you have something that's whole and something is the same size of the thing that's whole, a piece and a whole thing has the same law. And Tosfos says that's not true. If something is whole and something is a same size piece, everybody would agree you go after what's whole. Rashi says there is an opinion out there that if something is whole and something is not whole, it's the same thing. Wholesome doesn't mean anything, doesn't add anything to the equation. There's one opinion in the Gemara according to Rashi that says that. Tosfos disagrees. Tosfos says there is no such opinion in the Gemara. Everybody agrees being whole is special. The only question is when you're whole against you have this advantage of being whole, this bread, but the other bread has a different advantage because it's taller, it's bigger. That's how Tosfos says. That would be the difference, Mike, between Tosfos and Rashi. And understanding this is it united? Is all opinions agree that whole is something or not? Tosfos says there's no rabbi in the world that ever suggested that whole doesn't make a difference. Everybody agrees whole makes a difference. The only question is when it goes up against something else that has some other quality about it. That's what we said. That's wanted to bring that Tosfos in. And now we'll go to the Gemara that we started yesterday. We had the way, if we go to the way Rashi learned the Gemara, we had the idea of, now we introduced, the Gemara introduced something called quality yesterday. If you have quality versus quality, and so you have something being whole on one end, like we said, barley. The barley is whole, and and the whole challah, a whole bread made for full. It's not broken, made out of barley. And the other end of it, on the other side, standing in, weighing 100 pounds, is this a barley whole? On the other end of the scale, when it's Steve, you have a piece of wheat, and the piece of wheat is not whole. It's a piece of wheat. So who's the winner? You go after the fact that this is whole, or do you go after the fact that this is wheat, that it's a bread made from wheat? So Rashi says, so therefore the Gemara says, in this case, the quality will overpower the fact that the roll is whole. So that's what the Gemara says. That's the opinion that the Gemara says. Everybody would agree. The Gemara says that quality, but when it's about saying a bracha, the quality of the food, the quality of the bread, if it's a total different type of bread, it's like major leagues, minor leagues. It's a different league. Wheat bread and barley bread, it's a different league. Being that it's a different league, so therefore you have to give the honor to the bracha by saying the bracha on the wheat bread, even though the wheat bread made from wheat is not whole. That's what the Gemara wanted to say. The Gemara challenged it yesterday. Look, we'll just review that piece of Gemara. 4 lines before the wide lines. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah ketanoi. Tormin botzel katan shalim. We spoke about the onion. You're taking off truma from onion yesterday. So the first opinion says you take if you have a whole onion and you have a half an onion, you have onions that are whole but they're small, so smaller than the half of the onions. So the first opinion says go for the smaller onion, but don't go for the half of the bigger onion. And some commentators explain that the half of the bigger onion, let's say, is a better quality. It's a better quality than that small onion. But this opinion says you still got to go after the small onion. So the Gemara wants to say it seems that the whole onion, the thing being whole, is so powerful that it'll even it'll trump the fact that the other thing is better quality, because we see over here that you go after the small onion. And then the Gemara says, Rabbi Yehuda says, no, don't go after the small onion. Go after the larger piece of onion, which is better quality. So the Gemara says, my love, most probably they're arguing in the following. The Mar Sava, one rabbi holds, it's all about being chashuv. It's all about the quality. And therefore, since it's all about the quality, therefore you got to go after the larger piece of onion because it's a better quality. And the other person, the Masava Shalem Adif, that it's better, the one that's whole is better than the quality. So if that's the case, it's a question of what you just said before. You told me before that quality wins out on being whole. You told me that piece of wheat bread, even though it's a piece, it's better than a whole bread made from barley. And here we see that whole is so strong that even that whole could the fact that something is whole and complete would overpower the fact of a better quality, according to one opinion. So the Gemara shoots back and says no. What do you say? If the, one that what? Right. Right. Tell you Dayim. So you're saying what would be in that case? Yeah. But you plan on eating both. Mr. Amos is asking the following question: if a guy has in front of him a roll that's less than a kazayim, So it's so small that technically you don't say a Netilat Yadayim. You don't say you don't say a bracha Netilat Yadayim on less than a kasayit. And really, even less than an egg, there's also some say you don't need to say a bracha Netilat Yadayim. So he wants to know if the roll is so small, even if it's whole, would that take precedence over something which is much larger? Do we say the fact that it's whole, but it's so whole, but it's so small, maybe it's not called significant enough? That's a good question. About how would you look at that? You should know, I've seen some Hasidic Rebbes, they have like a Shabbat, sometimes they have some 12 little challah rolls. I've seen them have like little, they make these little small challah rolls. I don't even know if they're a kazayit, some of those, I'm not sure if they're a kazayit. Okay, so the Gemara says the following. Hey Chadika Kohen. The Gemara says no. You know what that case is talking about? You know what the case of the Mishnah is talking about, the onions? It's a special case. What happened? If you want to say something, Ariel? If there's a Kohen, where do you got to give the Truma to? To the Kohen. So, and you separate the Truma, and you want to give it to the Kohen. So, hey Chadika Kohen, if there's a Kohen in town, you're living in a place where there's a Kohen around, so then, we're in the first wide line, Mr. Haber, you see? If there's a Kohen in town, everybody believes you got to go give it a large piece of the onion, which is a better quality, and you don't worry about the fact that the other onion is whole. What did you say? Now the Gemara is saying. Now the Gemara wants to bring back an answer for what we said before. To say that what we said before is correct. Everybody holds the quality is such a different quality. You go after the quality and not by the fact that something is whole. Because the Gemara, and therefore the Gemara says, therefore, if you have a piece of wheat bread from wheat, a piece of bread, not whole, and a whole roll of barley made from barley, you go after the piece of wheat. The wheat bread, because the quality is so much greater. Yes. You make hamotzi. It's from the 5 grains. Chita, sora, just like spelt. You ever there's people have spelt. I don't know. There's something called spelt matzah. Do anybody know about barley bread on the market? You know of any? Is there any barley bread on the market? Maybe there's not so. But I know when it comes to matzah, there's spelt. Is there oat bread on the market? I mean, there's 5 grains that you can make bread that you make them. You would make hamotzi. It's wheat, spelt, oat, and rye. It's wheat, barley, spelt, oat, and rye. Those are the 5 grains that you would make you can make hamotzi from, and you can fulfill the mitzvah of matzah and pesach from those five grains. So the Gemara says, and also chametz like we said in the halacha is whatever could become chametz can become matzah. Therefore, you could have the prohibition of chametz applies to those 5 grains, correct? All right? Those 5 grains. So the Gemara says, keep pligi, heichadika kohen. When there's a kohen, everybody agrees to go after what's more important. But, Mr. Amos brought up a point about the onions yesterday. The Gemara's going to bring up a different point about a cut onion. The problem is if there's no kohen and you're going to separate that onion that's already cut, then what's going to happen is it might get ruined because a cut onion doesn't have the protective shell. When something is whole, it lasts much longer than when something is cut. Is that obvious? Everyone knows that. So therefore, if you have a kohen to give it to right away, you give it to him. You take the piece of onion that's already cut because he's going to use it right away. But if you're going to go ahead and you're the Yisrael, and you have all different onions to choose from, which one should I separate to put away to give to the kohen? But if the kohen's not going to get it right away, he's not coming right away. If you're going to separate that onion that's cut, then there's a concern that it's not going to last properly. So therefore, there's an opinion in the Gemara that says, don't use that cut onion. Don't separate that cut onion. Leave that cut onion for yourself, and you'll use it for yourself. And as soon as you can. Don't separate that cut onion for the kohen. That's what the question of the Gemara is. Keep pligi deleka kohen. So that's where one opinion says you give it. That's where one opinion says you separate the whole onion for the kohen, but there's longer shelf life.
Right?
What do you say, Aaron?
It's like the maaser. We have to give a quantity to the kohen. We're not talking about quality over there.
About the maaser, you give to the maaser, you give to the Levi, maaser rishon, you give to the Levi. Right, you give to the Levi, but we said there's a special, first of all, we found there's a special halacha yaron by Truma. Torah says, give from the best, give the better. So therefore, from that we see, I'm not sure if there's special halacha like that, but the maaser, it's always nice. There's something called zeh keli vanveyu. When you do a mitzvah, you're always supposed to do it in a very nice way. So it also would make sense, Aaron, to give the nice
So Rabbi,
stuff.
for Truma, we have to give the best thing to the Kohen, right?
Right, the bet of the crop, you give the nicer part, right? The nicer.
So that will answer the question of the Gemara. What's the question? You say, what should we give to the Kohen, right? The best
Right.
or the most?
Right. The question was what's called better? That's really the question. What's called better? The quality makes it. Do we look at that as the more honorable thing to give, or the fact that something is whole is the more honorable thing to give? So the Gemara was thinking that maybe maybe some say the whole is stronger. You give a whole thing. It's more honorable. You give something a piece of something, you know. You give a piece, it's not the same as you're giving something whole. That's what the Gemara was thinking. Maybe you could see the piece as something unique. The whole is more important than the piece. And he's saying, even if the piece is better quality, maybe it's not respectable. You give the Kohen something that's already cut, right? Nobody likes, it's not. But on the other hand, this is better quality. Yeah, Ron, that's the question, right? What's the better one
Yes.
you should give? Beautiful.
If you give half a Bitcoin, that's not bad also,
Half of a Bitcoin is not bad. Okay, half a Bitcoin is pretty good. Yes, but a whole Bitcoin is better. No, okay. So the Gemara says the following. Ditnan, we learned in the Mishnah. Kol makom sheyesh kohen. Wherever there's a kohen that's available for you to give the truma right away, you notorei min hayafeh. You go ahead and you take from the better. Yaron, you hear that? If there's a Kohen around and you have fruit to take off Truma, right, Morris? You take from the nicer fruit and give to the Kohen. Kohen. And if there's no Kohen around, so what should I look at? What should be my main factor that's going to determine what I'm separating? Not look at what's the better type of fruit, because there's something else I have to be worried about, whether it's going to last. Shelf life. Torei mina miskayim. I need to take off truma from something that will last. So therefore, by the time the Kohen will receive it, let's say the Kohen's out of town, he's coming back in a few weeks. I need it to be available. That it should have shelf life. Rabbi Yehuda says, you know what? Even if they have no Kohen right away to give it to, ain't Torei ela mina yofeh. He still says that the law of taking from the better fruits, what Yaron was talking about before, applies, even if there's no Kohen around. He doesn't seem to be so concerned that if eventually it doesn't last as long as the other thing, for some reason he's not so concerned about that. And he said you still got to take off, because the Torah says you got to take off from the better one. That's what you got to do. It happens to be the Kohen's not around. That's a side point, I presume. But you have to do what you need to do. You got to go ahead and take the better stuff. Amar Rav Nachman. So Rav Nachman says, a Yira Shemayim. Someone who is a Yira Shemayim, Yotzei Yidei Shnehem. Have a good day. He should fulfill both opinions. Let's say you have a situation where you have something. Let's say you have a roll that's whole, right? And you have something that's larger. And you have on the one side you have a roll that's whole, and then you have on the other side you have a piece of bread that's let's say it's all wheat. One is whole bread, but the other one is larger. So now the question is, which one should I say a bracha on? According to Rabbi Yochanan, you say on the whole, the thing that's whole. Whole wins out over something else that's larger. And that's Tosa says that's the halacha. But however, Rav Huna says no. Something is larger, that wins out over something that's whole. So what does a Yireh Shamayim, a God-fearing person, does? He tries to fulfill both opinions. Like you have such a thing. Sometimes we find that a Yireh Shamayim, sometimes we're strict. Some we say a God-fearing person will go above and beyond what's necessary to do. So therefore, that's what the Gemara is saying. The God-fearing person, you know what he'll do? He'll say a bracha as if he's saying he'll put them together. When he says the bracha, he's not going to put the one to the side and focus in on one. He's going to say the bracha as if he's making the bracha on both the whole challah roll, the whole bread, and on the large piece. So therefore, it has the appearance that the bracha is on both. He's giving honor to the bracha by doing it on both, instead of just picking one opinion and just giving honor to one, either the whole bread or the piece. That's the Yireh Shamayim. So the Yireh Shamayim is he fulfills both opinions. Umanu, and who was that Yireh Shamayim? Who was that man that acted in this way? Was Ma Berei the Ravina. Mar, the son of Ravina, and it sounds like this was not a common practice that everybody followed this practice, but Ma Berei the Ravina, Ma, the son of Ravina, he had a great father, Ravina. He went ahead and he did this. And he said, what did he do? Meniach prusa betoch hashlema. He put the piece underneath, let's say the whole one. So he's holding both in his hands, and he went ahead, and then after he put them together, then he would say the bracha, and after he would say the bracha, motzi lechem in haaretz, then either he would cut from both, or he would cut only from the shleima, or he would just cut from the whole one. But the fact that it looked like he said the bracha on both, that's enough to show honor. He showed honor to the large piece as well. That's like Rashi explains. The main thing was that he had both in his hand. He said the bracha on both, so he gave honor to the bracha. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Now,
Rabbi, that was a nice thing that he done.
Right. So to answer Mr. Haber's point, he knew there was a conflict in the Gemara, and he was going with the halacha, that the halacha would be, you say on the whole one. You say on the whole bread over the large piece. And therefore, that's why Rashi emphasizes we either cut from both or we only cut from the large one. Sorry, from the whole piece. Why does Rashi he either cut from both, or if he cut from one, he cut from the whole one? Like Tosfos says, the law is you cut from the whole one. If you have a whole bread, even though it's smaller than the larger piece, but if it's whole, you cut from, that's the one. But even though I'm of the opinion that the law follows, main thing is the whole one, but I still wanted to go out of my way to show respect to the other opinion. That's but you need it for the other Suda. But you should know, we're talking about kavod, the Ashkenazim, there's a different Ashkenazim and Sfardim by tefillin. Ashkenazim, we say a bracha laniach tefillin on the shel yad. We have in mind the shel yad, that bracha goes for the shel yad and the shel rosh. And then we say second bracha on the shel rosh as well. The Sfardim say one bracha on the shel yad. They have in mind the shel yad. They have in mind for the hand and for the rosh. But the Ashkenazim, when we say the second bracha on the shel rosh, what do we do after we say the bracha on the shel rosh? We say, after we say the bracha, we say the bracha, we put it on the head. We say the bracha, we adjust it, and then we say Baruch Shem Kavod Machuso L'Olam V'ed. Why do we say Baruch Shem Kavod Machuso L'Olam V'ed? When do we? If a person says a bracha by mistake, they say Baruch Shem Kavod Machuso L'Olam V'ed. So why are we saying Baruch? Because we hold, Ashkenazim hold the halacha, you're supposed to say a bracha on the shel rosh. It's not a safek. It's not Aruch HaShulchan explained. we are the opinion that you're supposed to say a bracha on the shorosh. But to show respect that there are other opinions out there that say you do not say a bracha, those are all the opinions that the Sfardim hold. We don't just say it as if they don't exist. And therefore, we, the Ashkenazim, to show respect for those opinions, we say, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusel Amen.
Rabbi, we do bracha on the Rosh if we didn't have the kavanah.
What'd you say?
When we do the bracha of the Yad and we didn't have the kavanah or we speak between, we have to do bracha on the Rosh.
Correct. That's you're showing that when you're saying on the Yad, you have in mind the Rosh too. Correct.
No,
Very good,
but Rabbi, if you didn't have the kavanah on when you put the Yad for the Rosh, you have to do bracha for the Rosh himself.
If for sure, if you spoke between the Shayat Shorosh, you would have to say another bracha. Correct. Yes, Yaron.
So it's good. So why don't
Right?
we should apply this to
Rabbi, give him a microphone to Ariel. We can hear him.
Yeah. Some Yaron is bring up a very good point. We don't do this by everything, but there are certain things that the rabbis felt that we should. It could be because this is a bracha that we're saying every day. Maybe we're going to show respect every day. But it's a good question. We don't do this on everything. But the concept, I think we can learn out of the Gemara. We need to strive to be that Yireh Shemayim. We need to be, of course, first thing we got to know, we have to focus on following the halakha. We also have to realize there's something called other opinions sometimes, and we have to respect other opinions. And these are all based on great things. I want to wish everyone a Chodesh Tov and a great day. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We'll continue.
Thank you, Rabbi.
It was a fascinating Gemara.
Rabbi,
Yosef, I'm going to call you back in 2 minutes, Yosef, okay? Great
Rabbi,
day.
see you soon, Rabbi.
See you soon. You
everybody.
too. Yosef, I'm going to call you back, all right?
Bye-bye.
Yosef, I'm calling you right back in 2 minutes.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Great day, everybody.
Okay, Rabbi, thank you. Everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Mr. Amos.